To think is to suffer. Why is that? Well, thinking can create suffering because the human mind doesn't just experience reality, right? It continuously interprets, predicts, compares, remembers, and imagines. And that ability is just incredibly useful for survival, right? It has this biological component. But it also means we can mentally generate pain even when no immediate danger exists. So, kind of unusual when you think about this, but it is a real thing. So, a few common ways this happens to us, right? So, one is rumination. So, you can't really stop thinking about something. So, you're basically replaying past mistakes, like, let's say when you were younger, or any time or phase in your life, you were just smoking weed on a daily basis or drinking while, binge watching some of your favorite Netflix shows and playing video games and chit chatting nonstop for hours on WhatsApp with your friends and acquaintances. But there's also rumination when it comes to losses in life. So maybe this was a loss related to relationships or friendships or family or, I don't know, job opportunities. It could be anything. Or even embarrassing moments. You did something, you said something, it was kind of embarrassing, and you can't really stop thinking about it, right? And it is what it is. But another way we suffer from thinking could be due to anticipation, right? You're expecting something to happen, something that you don't want, of course. So imagine things like future threats, right? Oh, there could be a war sometime next week, next year, whatever, right? Or maybe there are impending layoffs, right? Because the economy is not doing well and I could lose my job at any moment. Or maybe you had a lot of fights with your husband or wife, your partner, and things have reached a point where it's possible you guys could be split. You may choose to separate for a temporary period of time, or even worse, the situation might actually lead to something like divorce, which is more permanent. Of course, there's like anticipating rejection too, right? So you're afraid that this person's not gonna accept your date, right? Or maybe this individual's not gonna accept your marriage proposal, or maybe you had a job interview and you feel like you're not gonna get it. They're gonna turn you down. And anticipation can also be connected to failure in life. Like you expect that you're not going to be able to land your dream career or buy like a dream home, and you're going to be trapped in this crappy small apartment for the rest of your life, just renting away, money until it's all over. And of course, you may also expect some more dangerous things in life, like illness or even death. Like, especially if you're someone who is like really old in life and is already experiencing like a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, or maybe you're just dealing with whatever, right? Some other factors that can increase your likelihood of falling ill or, dying. And thoughts can also make us suffer via comparison too. So we tend to, as human beings, measure ourselves against ideals sometimes. So, like, am I the perfect father, right? Um, am I the perfect wife? Am I the perfect Christian? Like, would Jesus do what I'm doing right now? Like these kinds of thoughts, or am I a good coworker? Do people respect me? Am I a good boss? Am I a good neighbor? Whatever. These are just a few such examples. Or maybe just the comparisons are just to other people, right? Man, that guy Mike, he's really lucky. He makes twice as much money as I make, and we're both doctors. We're both specialists. Or look at Sally. She has such a nice body. She's lost a lot of weight. She's put on some muscle. She looks incredibly fit. She could wear whatever she wants. I wish I was like her, but it's just too difficult for me. Or oh my God, look at Steve. He's handsome. He's good looking. Unlike me, I'm short, bald, ugly. Blah blah blah. So people, they tend to make these kinds of comparisons all the time. And another way we can suffer, right, from our thoughts is through attachment as well. And last time I already explained that kind of newer concept of nostalgia maxing, right? So with attachment, we want like reality just to stay a certain way because anytime it changes, it makes us feel uncomfortable, right? It stresses us out, and we don't like that. Like some of us, right? That at least deal with the situation. And of course, just being self conscious, constructing this image of yourself, right? This construct of yourself where you can feel judged, right? You can feel inadequate, you can even feel threatened. So when you're kind of um, thinking about yourself in that light, it's going to make you suffer as well. And, not surprisingly, many philosophers and psychologists have noticed this in life. So think about like Buddhist philosophy, right? So in Buddhism, suffering increases when the mind clings to thoughts and treats them as permanent truths instead, right? So whatever's in your mind is just a truth, it's just a value. You've accepted it. So if your mind works that way, right, then you're gonna suffer. That's just the consequence. Epictetus, he argued that events themselves hurt us less, far less than our judgments about them. Pretty interesting comment here. So, yeah, we could go through all kinds of life experiences and events, and they're not always perfect, right? Like embarrassing situations and tragedies and whatnot. But how we perceive them affects us more than actually experiencing some of these events. It's kind of ironic when you think about it, but there's some truth to that. And the father of psychology, Sigmund Freud, he emphasized that internal conflict between desires, right? The things you want in life, and fears, what you're afraid of, and social constraints, the rules, the norms, the laws, and cultural expectations that limit our individual behavior. We're kind of obligated to follow these, otherwise, we could be punished, or people could look down on us, could judge us, right? So, this conflict between these three things can also lead a person to suffer mentally. And modern cognitive psychology studies how just distorted thinking patterns, right, can just amplify or increase emotional pain, right, mental pain. Now, there's also a biological angle to consider. So, again, the brain evolved to detect problems in life. So, a mind that just constantly scans for danger helps us humans to survive, right? So it's played a significant role in our evolutionary survival as human beings. That's why we're still alive today. So this is something really important to us. It's a powerful tool. The mind has all these amazing abilities. But in modern life, that same system, right, can become chronic anxiety, overanalysis, or existential worry, right? And these three things kind of have a lot of overlap with one another, not surprisingly. Um, of course, granted, there's some positive in all this too, because thinking isn't only a source of suffering. It doesn't have to be that. It also does some positive things for us as well. It creates meaning in life, creativity, right? Some people have creative thoughts. Think about artists and musicians, right? Um, we can also love, uh, not sexually, right, but in other ways. So we can love, or express our love through our memories of people or imagination. And our minds can also make us, think of or come up with science, knowledge, humor, art, or even produce moral reflection, right? Ethical reflection. So the same exact mind that worries sometimes, right, has these negative thoughts, these concerns, can also understand itself as well. And sometimes that sense of understanding can lead to positive outcomes and help us, you know, manage our lives better. And here's the thing, something important to note here is that suffering often comes less from having thoughts, right? Because we have thoughts every second. Again, it's just part of our nature, right? It's part of our biology. We're just genetically wired this way. We're always thinking about so many different unrelated things. So again, it comes less from those thoughts, right? And the suffering actually comes more from getting trapped inside those thoughts, right? Believing every thought except automatically. So as soon as the thoughts enter your head, you just accept them kind of like a belief or a norm or a value or something, right? And I remember Aristotle mentioned that, very strong people, this is not verbatim, I don't remember the exact quote or saying, but he said something along the lines of like, uh, really strong people, they come across thoughts, but they don't accept them right away, like something like that. So it's kind of related to the second point. That's why people suffer sometimes because they just believe every thought that just automatically comes to mind. And the third reason why people suffer, not from the thoughts themselves, but because they're just resisting experiences that already exist. So there are these situations, these experiences, they're not comfortable, or they could be painful truths or whatever. And instead of accepting them, right, as realities of life, they try to convince themselves that no, this isn't happening. No, I must do something about this. I don't want to accept this. So that feeling, that tension, can cause problems and cause them to suffer. And one day, maybe in a future episode, I'll go into the resisting experiences that already exist. And Jungian psychology kind of touches on this issue in a better light. So, now about solutions, right? Because a lot of us have trouble just dealing with our thoughts, right? They sometimes drive us crazy. So, the thing is, if you can involve yourself in certain methods or practices such as meditation, prayer, therapy, journaling, philosophy, exercise, or even having something like a deep conversation with someone or yourself can help, right? They just change the relationship to just thought rather than eliminating thought itself. So there's nothing wrong with having thoughts; they're part of us. But if you're just fixated on trying to destroy thoughts or eliminate them or prevent yourself from being able to think, that's not really something that's meaningful or productive, and it's not going to work out for you, right? Because the ability to think is just, again, it's part of our biology, it's part of our instincts, it's part of our survival. But we can at least try to, again, come up with specific ways and solutions to manage and control our thoughts so we can live mentally healthier lives. That's all.